Hi, Instagram. I'm so excited tonight because we are going to have a great conversation around authenticity and what it really means. It's a buzzword: be authentic, be yourself, be vulnerable. And we talk about it a lot in dating. And I am going to be joined by an amazing co-host coach, Talia, who's coming on. Hi, from Dating Intentionally. She is here. I'm going to go live with Dating. See if she can come in. If you can send me a request, that would be great. And is she coming up? There she is.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I want to say a big congrats, Mazel Tov to you for your engagement.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am over the moon.
Yes. Okay, amazing. When's the big day?
In September.
So nice. Okay, great. Amazing. And I love your content. I think it's just so practical and real and really on the nose, like really spot on. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, I love your content too. I loved your post today. It was with you against the wall.
I'm so embarrassed.
No, it's great. It was like the healthy version and the unhealthy you. Yes, I loved it.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, my husband went to watch Super Bowl, and I was like, I'll be with you in like 5 minutes. I just have to do a quick reel, and then I'm like falling down the wall of my house, But anyway, listen, this is such an important topic, and dating authentically, and it's such a buzzword that we hear all the time, right? Like dating authentically, and what does it really mean? Like, what does it really mean? So we were going to have a really jump in and do a deep dive around everything authentic. And what does it mean and whatever. But before we do that, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about what you do and, who you are if you want. I would love to hear more, and then we can jump in.
Yes, I'm Talia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with you all. I am a dating coach and I'm really like a dating nerd, I would say. I just have dedicated a lot of time and energy to the dating process. I spent about a year dating, and in that time I went on over 200 dates with 64 men, and to find my now fiance, who I've been with for 18 months. So, and I met all these people, most of these people on Hinge and the dating app. So, and my focus in my journey after, this was after a long relationship that I got out of, was to really focus on my needs and showing up authentically, showing up kind of I would say unapologetically was my word, but that is very similar to authentically.
Right, and that it's just so much better when you can do that.
Yes,
it's just so much better.
I had so much more fun.
Right, you have more fun. Things are clearer, and you don't realize that. I think it really comes down to, well, we'll get into it, but it's just so much easier. And I think there's so many gymnastics that we do, to try to I call it pretzeling. That I just made it up because I always felt like I was pretzeling when I was dating.
I love that word.
like I got married very late in life. I look younger than I am, but I'm in my 40s, and I dated so long. And I guess both of us, we dated so long that we thought, okay, let's put all of our worst and best experiences into helping others with the same thing. So
yes,
so yeah, pretzeling, we think we're doing a better job when we're dating if we're pretzeling, because we're trying to accommodate and like another person, but really we're abandoning ourselves or denying ourselves. And that is literally impossible in dating, because dating is about two people, whoever they really are, coming together, and that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It might be great for a job interview or a job or something, because that's what they want. The companies want you to kind of leave yourself at the door and just be, of service to them. But not with dating. No. You have to just really show up as you, right?
Yes. I mean, I found that the more I was trying to be liked, the less myself I was being. So I really worked on flipping it. That's what I really encourage daters to do, is flipping that. Instead of trying to be chosen, is to be the chooser. So when you are in the mindset of being the chooser, you are showing up as yourself, because you know that you're the one who's making the choice about who you're going to be with, and the right person is going to love you and just really enjoy your presence as you are, that you don't have to change really anything to be worthy of someone's affection and attention. You know, obviously we all have room to improve, but you can show up just as you are right now and you're still worthy of someone's affection. You don't have to pretzel. You don't have to change anything.
And that's what I think is, we're going to deep dive into it, because those feelings of not feeling worthy or not feeling good enough really sit at the subconscious, which is why I went into the work I do, which I didn't really mention, but hi everyone. We got a good amount of people on here, is because, you know, you can know all the right things here and know everything we're saying, which I'm sure a lot of people do, but you just don't feel it. You just feel different. You just feel inadequate. You just feel, I just felt unworthy. And then I felt like a failure. So the more you go on with the dating and it doesn't work, it compounds on itself. So then it's just like proves to you, oh, see, I am, and then becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's really also, I think, about learning how to tap in. I work very much with the body as well, somatically, because the body reflects what's in the subconscious. And yes, please do Q&A. I was about to say that, you read my mind, because I love when people chat in, and we can't answer it may be everyone's, but I love hearing from you guys and what's important to you. But the idea is that subconscious, the body reflects what's in the subconscious. So whatever feeling state you have in your body, particularly when you're dating, like the dread before going out, or anxiety, or nerves, or you're in the date and you're overanalyzing and editing, all of these are signs, and you know, that you're not showing up authentically, and that you have a different experience going on and belief system underneath the surface. Yes. That is really, really important to learn how to address differently. Because what happens is, once we notice that we're having those experiences, usually what people do, we all do it, is judge it. I can't believe I'm doing that again. I can't believe I did that again. I can't believe I said that again. And that judgment is really the problem. It's unbelievable that whatever you're feeling, you can feel, and that's not the problem. The problem's the reaction to how you feel. And, and when you change that reaction, then it changes everything, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what you're describing, I went through as well. There were certain things in my dating journey where I was experimenting with different experts' dating advice. That was one approach I had. I was like, there's all these dating experts, let's just try all their advice and see what happens. And one piece of advice that I think is really important is like to not talk about the future too much on a date. Like, oh, we should do that. Like when you're on a first date and you're like, oh, we should take this trip. Like, I used to do that a lot, I think, just because I was so excited. And I would edit, and I would be in my head editing, like, well, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And instead of judging, I think I tried to shift to just like, okay, I'll have another chance to date and do this differently. Like, okay, whatever, I did it on this date, no big deal. Next time I can do things, can try a different approach and see what happens.
Yeah, I love your attitude. Yeah. It's just like so like accepting and easy.
Part of the authenticity piece is having the abundance mentality, yes. Right? That you have many opportunities. There are many people you could potentially connect with. There's not just one. You know, connections are built, they're not found. And so having that abundance helped me relax into the process.
Nice.
And it helped me show up even more authentically in that way. And that's what I want people to do, is just realize that you haven't met everyone yet. There are people who come onto the dating scene and out of the dating scene every day.
Yes.
You never know who you're going to meet and when.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not going to say it, it's too dark, but I had friends who were married, and they were like, where is your husband? And they're like, are we waiting for someone, God forbid, to drop dead? You know, as in like a widow or something, all of a sudden they're going to become available, or a divorcee, or, you know, you don't wish that on anyone, obviously.
There is a dark side for sure, but let's be real, that's how it happens.
Yeah, you have to laugh through it. You have to, sometimes it's like the dark humor that gets you through it. You know, I don't know if anyone relates to that, but okay. What does dating authentically really mean? Because again, it's a buzzword. We hear it everywhere. What does it really mean to date authentically?
I'm open to different ideas of this. I don't want to be this is my definition, this is the law, but I really think it is about putting your best self first. Like the version of yourself that you would date, that's who you are showing up as on dates. Like if you are expecting certain things in a partner, you've got to be those things too. That's one piece of it.
That's nice.
Second piece of it is also coming to the date as a human. I think a lot of us are afraid to date because we're not healed enough, or we're not, you know, it's like, no, you've got to accept yourself where you're at and meet yourself where you are, and you can still show up and you're still worthy. We all have a journey. We never reach the end of the journey. And having that acceptance of yourself is really, going to help you feel to like tap into that authenticity more. Like, okay, this is who I am today. I'm proud of where I've come from and how far I've come. I'm proud of my accomplishments. And that's like, you can't, like, I was talking to someone over DM a couple days ago, and she was worried about how her potential partner, this person she's dating, would react to her apartment, that she lives in an area that's known for like a lower income area. And I'm like, you don't know how they're going to react. They might not even care. They might not even know. You have no, it's like she's projecting her insecurities onto, yes. So showing up authentically would be, you know what, this is where I am right now, and knowing that someone is going to accept you fully.
Yeah, so that's so, can we just talk about that for a second? Just the idea that we really, there's such a myth out there that we have to be worked out completely and healed in order to then sort of merit this amazing relationship. And it is such nonsense, because again, I come from more of a spiritual frame of the point of life is to achieve, to be our best selves, right? Like eventually over lifetime to actualize, to grow, to spiritually develop. And so you're always in a process of growth, always, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, whatever it is, like you're always, it's like you're single by design, not by punishment, is what I say to my singles.
I like that.
Because everyone feels that I'm being punished, or there's something wrong with me. And that's actually how I got into this full time. Was I made a deal with God when I was single, that I said, if you get me married, I'll help singles. Like I really was like, I'll give back. If I mean, you can't really just barter your way through things, but I did feel like I would want to give back if I got married. And I thought I'll dabble it on the side a little bit, because I had a nonprofit job of other programming and teaching and whatever. And I did a class in partnership with a dating website and I called the class, There's Nothing Wrong With You, to singles.
Love it.
Hundreds and hundreds of people showed up without hardly any advertising. And I was like, whoa, because of the title, for sure. They had no idea who I was. And they showed up, and halfway through, everyone kept putting off their cameras. And I'm like, oh, they're ADD, they're checking emails, they're bored, whatever. Oh, well, whatever. Afterwards, I got over 30 emails from people individually saying, I'm so sorry I turned my camera off. I was bawling, because no one speaks to us this way. Like empowered, that you're good, you're lovable. Singlehood or singledom, whatever, is not a reflection of you and your worth. And it's not a reflection of how you're doing in life. And the proof of that is, have you seen how many toxic, dysfunctional people are married?
Right.
Like tons are in relationships. Tons and tons and tons of people are in relationships that are toxic and dysfunctional. Whether they're happy or not, I have no clue. But they're in it. So that the measure of your readiness and worth is not about whether you can be in a relationship or whether you have someone. It's what quality relationship you have. And I always felt like it was better for me to be single than a bad relationship, or in a marriage that I feel alone in, you know?
Yes, 100% agree. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I think, go ahead.
Debunking that, I think, is super important.
Yes. And for me, it comes back to acceptance, right? Accepting where you are. When you fully accept yourself, it is a lot easier to accept acceptance from someone else. Like when you're on a date with someone and you have these insecurities and they like you, you're almost skeptical of the fact that they're into you, because you aren't really into you. But when you accept yourself for where you are and you stop moving the goal, stop moving the goalpost constantly, and just be like, this is where I am now. It's easier to just show up as you are and be ready to receive that energy from someone, because you also accept yourself. It makes dating a lot easier.
And so to get to that acceptance, we have to get rid of a lot of judgment, self-judgment. And when I say judgment, I mean not pretending you don't have anything to work on, but being judgmental of ourselves. And just saying, approaching yourself, someone's saying, how do you get to that point? Approaching yourself with compassionate curiosity. Compassionate curiosity is a term that we practice all the time in my course. How do I respond? Again, it's all about not the feeling that you're having, it's the reaction to the feeling. So how do I respond to myself? That you can change, right?
You're hitting all the right points. I used to be really mean to myself.
Yeah.
So mean to myself. And it hit me really hard, like a ton of bricks, when I was on vacation. I was supposed to be relaxing and I was late to a tour. I was like doing a boat
Yeah.
tour and I was berating myself in my mind for being late and like just being irresponsible. And I was saying, and I was like, oh my God, I'm on vacation right now. I'm supposed to be, why am I being so mean to myself? Why am I getting on myself? Like it's all gonna work out. I was fine. I made it. It was all good. But I was crying on the way to this tour in Hawaii, right? Like I was really tearing myself up. So it's how we talk to ourselves. It just can affect everything. And
I always say if I printed out a printout of what you say to yourself during the day, if we just did a printout of one day of everyone who's here, what you say to yourself, like how would we really feel if we read that piece of paper of like all the work? It's like you wouldn't treat your worst enemy that way usually.
no.
And I think that the way you change that, there's two levels. One is on the cognitive level, as we're saying, firstly noticing. It's interesting that you had that. I love those moments in life where we get like a snapshot outside of ourselves nearly of like that moment of like where you went, what am I doing? I'm on a tour. Like you had that moment of clarity, of realization, because usually we're just in the reactive mode. And that reactive mode is a reality that we've learned when we were kids. It was role model to us for whatever. It doesn't even matter why. The reason I love the subconscious work is you don't have to get into the whole story and the narrative, and so we can spend hours and hours and hours in therapy, years and years, in fact, going around the narrative of the story.
Right.
And that does not change how you feel. Someone wrote before, but how do you change how you feel? So it's how you respond to yourself differently. So if I can say, well, I can't, let's take your example. That's perfect. When you're going to the boat tour, you're beating yourself up. You have two options when you realize you're beating yourself up. I can't believe I'm beating myself up. I'm on vacation.
Right.
So then you can say, oh my gosh, what a loser that I'm beating myself up. And so you start judging the judgment. Right. That's one response. I'm judging myself. I realize I'm judging myself. So I have a consciousness awareness. And now I'm going to judge myself for the judgment. Bah, don't do that. The other one is what you did, which is like, I'm going to just stop this right now. This is just, I'm on vacation. I can just ease up. I can just be nice to myself. And I think that realization of I'm just going to stop the judgment. If we just stop the judgment, your whole life will change immediately, right? Like how did you feel the rest of the day?
A lot better. I mean, it was, like so much better. And I was way more aware of it. That was the first day of my vacation. So I was a lot more aware of it after that. And yes, it definitely made my experience better. I was alone. There was just no point. There's no point in talking to myself like that and making myself so emotional.
Yes.
With this narrative that I was building in my head about how irresponsible I am. So,
right. And we can really create our own reality like that, literally from zero to nothing. I always say that reality's here, your expectations are here, and the difference is the level of suffering, right?
Love that.
Isn't that great?
Yes,
and
that's so true. That's so real.
You can't do anything about reality, but you can get rid of your expectation of how you think it should be. And now I'm going to judge myself and whip myself because it didn't live up to that expectation.
Yes.
Okay. Why does it feel so much easier to be mean to ourselves than it is to be kind to ourselves? I think it's learned, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's like a natural, it's like a default. It's wired in, it's programmed in.
Yeah. We just learned it because I know I had friends who weren't so mean to themselves, and they came from a family that didn't role model that. You basically, we define whatever we've been exposed to over and over again, and that's what's familiar to us. We define that as normal, and outside that box of normal we say that's weird, or that's foreign, or it's unusual. So we want to change our box, what we call normal, because that normal might not be what you want. So I always say, allow yourself to feel different. Like, allow yourself to feel like, oh, this is weird. Yeah, good. We want weird. We want something different.
Yeah. For me, it's like, what if I tried this instead? Like, what if I just tried a different way and see how that feels? And sometimes, it does feel strange, but in a good way.
Yeah, I love your curiosity. You really embody that curiosity. And it's really important.
Thank you. I definitely have worked on it. I think curiosity is a skill we can cultivate in dating and in ourselves. It's a really important skill in relationships. It's something I really have worked on in my relationship when we're in conflict, right? It's just like, if I face anything, my first move is to ask questions instead of making those judgments or accusations or turning on myself and it's like, oh, it's my fault. You know, all those things that we do to avoid just the working through it.
Exactly, 100%. Okay, so how do we know that we aren't dating authentically?
So it's a great
What
question.
do we do? Yeah.
I think we know the biggest sign, the most clear sign for me is if we're not speaking up for what we want. Right? If you feel like you're stifling, if you feel like you're holding things in. And for me, that had a physical, like talk about somatic, I had like a physical reaction or feeling when I was doing that. It was like something was caught in my throat. And that is something that I picked up, like, oh, I am holding something back that needs to be said.
Yes.
And that luckily has never happened with my current partner, but it happened with my ex. So if that,
Isn't
like,
the body amazing? Isn't the body amazing that it does that? It will literally give you a sensation here as if you're choking or you know, you're not speaking up for what you need. So if anyone's listening here that has had that experience, that's what your body's telling you. Our bodies will talk to us all day long if we listen, but we have to learn sometimes how to interpret it. But yeah.
So I think, on a date, if you feel like you are hiding parts of your personality, or if you're being, I think it's okay to have a little bit of a filter, a little bit of some kind of just that social awareness filter is okay. Like just being polite and respectful and, you know, just having a little bit of thought before you speak. But if you feel like you are fully hiding aspects of your personality or your values or your needs, then that is not dating authentically. Another thing I wrote down is if you're pretzeling, if you're trying to fit someone else's definition of what, like think a dating coach. If you're trying to fit some other dating coach's definition of what a partner should be, right? If it doesn't align with you, if it doesn't fit, then you're not dating authentically. And I think it's okay to test and experiment, but if you feel in your body that it's not right, that, you know, then that's a sign. That's not your advice. That's not your path, right? To take.
Yeah. And I think also people pleasers.
Yes. Yeah.
Any people pleasers out there? I know you're there. There's so many. We're all people pleasers to some degree. But people pleasing, we think we're being nice when we're dating, but you're really abandoning yourself. And I think that's really hard to hear, but it's so important because people pleasing is usually a type of control as well.
I heard recently that it's on someone's reel that it's like it is manipulation, which is kind of hard to hear because I don't think people pleasers see themselves as manipulators and they're not doing it facetiously, but
it's not malicious. Correct.
But it is manipulation, yes, because it's not the truth.
It's not the truth, but it's manipulation that I don't want a certain reaction to happen. They're usually scared of conflict. And so it's a way of controlling the environment to keep the peace because I'm scared of the conflict because maybe I grew up in a very conflict-based family. And it was scary, and it's a genius survival strategy as a child. So it is genius. There's nothing wrong with the ability to put yourself aside and please others is a very good skill to have. Again, we never throw out our coping mechanisms. We never throw out our defense mechanisms. Nothing's bad. It's about having choice. Do I have choice around it? Can I drop that mode or that defense mechanism when I want to? When I want to date authentically, can I drop it and just show up and be real? Or is that just way too scary for me that I'm always hiding behind my mask or my defense mechanism?
Yes, and I have an example of this. This comes up a lot in my DMs. I wonder if it comes up in yours. So I'll have a DM from a woman who's like planning a date with a man, and the man suggests something that she doesn't want to do. And she wants to go along with the date, but she doesn't want to do drinks or dinner, whatever he's proposing. But she doesn't know what to do. I'm like, it's okay. You can throw out another idea without making it weird or whatever reaction you're trying to avoid. It's okay. You're an adult. You're safe. You can say, oh, I don't actually drink. I'm not drinking right now. Maybe we can go get ice cream. Like that's not going to blow things up. Yeah. So that's like an example of the people pleasing instinct in dating that comes up.
Right. People pleasing. I also think putting up walls and staying quiet is one we typically do to not date authentically. And someone's asking if you don't feel it on the first date, how do you get out of it in the middle in a nice way? I know you, Talia, you are the queen of these things. I've seen so much of you. Are the queen. I want to come to you for some certain boundaries. Like the way you put things is so good. But how do you do that? How would you do that? Get out of the date in the middle?
So my approach is to be polite, finish your drink. Like there's a courtesy, right? Of just like finish the drink. You can drink quickly if you want. And then when you're done and they're going to be like, do you want another one? You could be like, actually, no, I have to go go home and do things at home. I have a dog, so I'd be like, I have to go feed my dog. You know, and that it works. It's
My
okay.
dog is even more important than you. Yeah.
The dog has to eat. So that I think it's just that give the courtesy of at least 30 minutes. And then it's okay to check your phone and be like, oh, you know what? Actually, I have to go. It was really nice meeting you. Thank you so much for the drink. And then excuse yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it. I know you make it
It's
sound
hard
so easy, doesn't you?
for a people pleaser, though.
Exactly. Hard for people, please. Okay. How else do we not date authentically? We worry about, I just wrote down a few things. Worry about what we should say. When you focus only on whether he likes you rather than whether you like him. I know you're big on that one. When you put him on a pedestal, I'm saying him because I'm female, but when you put your date on a pedestal and that you feel small, right? That's already, you're not dating authentically because you're creating this power gap. And I think a lot of people do this. Right? My inadequacy or my sense of not feeling good enough, I naturally shrink myself. Even before you get on the date, I shrink myself and I put the other person on a pedestal. And then guess what you've done? You've already mismatched it. Like there's already an unequal balance of power. And that is actually not attractive. So you're already making yourself not attractive by doing that. But again, we have to work on self-acceptance. And yeah, I just think not showing any of your fears, hopes, desires, struggles, challenges, any of these things, the real life stuff, what happens then is that you don't end up creating a bond. You can't really bond if you're not authentic. So then you can keep going out and like I call them one and dones, you know, just keep going out on these dates that you end. And then you're like, well, just no connection.
On that note, you don't have to share everything. I think that I think of it like a pool, like there's a shallow end and a deep end, and you have to get into the pool. So on the first date, you're on the shallow end, so you're sharing little bits and pieces, but you're not going to jump right into the deep end with all of your stories about your family and the trauma you may have experienced or like a huge problem at work you're dealing with. You're just giving them a little bit of information, and then you work your way into the pool, into the deep end.
Right, exactly. Okay.
We're getting questions.
I'm reading some questions. How do you go about flirting with someone who's not on but who you want to get to? Flirting with someone. I don't know. You have to be playful. You have to be playful, and you find reasons to do things together. I think when you do something with someone as a project or a goal, like let's say if you're working together or whatever, that really can bond you in a more sort of, you know, normal way.
One of my favorites is asking for advice.
Yes.
I think that can be friendly, but it also can be a little flirty depending on what it is. And if you take their advice, like even if it's what show to watch or what restaurant to go to, something simple, that makes them feel really good, and it shows that you like respect what they say.
Exactly. And then I feel good around her or good around him. Okay. Is advanced social etiquette, to be honest, why a second date isn't wanted? I feel like I've been too honest and I came across very, so it depends if it's going to hurt their feelings, I think, you know.
So here's why I don't think that you should give feedback on dates, because your feedback is about your preferences, and if you're rejecting them, your preferences are irrelevant to them. You're not in a relationship. They're not going to change and adjust based on your preferences at this point. So I don't think that feedback is necessary or even useful most of the time.
Well, that's interesting, or especially if it's their looks or the chemistry or whatever. Like, if it's, you know, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, like there are all kinds of reasons I rejected people. One of them was like, he didn't have a car, and I just didn't want to be the chaperone. But maybe someone who would not mind that, and if he's being authentic, he's being himself, doesn't have a car, wants to take public transportation and whatever, great, but it's just not for me.
Right, so, I hear that.
What do you do? What is he going to do? Buy a car?
He might for you. Anyway, too late. Okay. What gets in the way of dating authentically? So we talked about these fears. You know, I'd say fear of rejection, intimacy, failure, commitment, inadequacy. Like all these fears are our common fears that we all have. I mean, we don't have all of them, but these are the ones I see cycling through over and over again. Fear of rejection, intimacy, failure, commitment, and inadequacy. Do you think there's other ones there that you
Yes.
think?
I mean, I actually wrote down people pleasing, and I think not focusing or thinking about what we want. You're focusing on what they want and being liked by them, and just everything catering to the other person. And it's like, well, do you like this? Do you like how you're being treated? Do you like this person? Do you like how you feel right now? That needs to shift the focus on that.
Yeah, but why are they doing that? Like they're doing that because they're focusing on the other person because they're scared of something usually, no?
I mean, yeah, they're scared of losing something, but usually it's losing something that isn't even there yet. It's like losing the idea of something.
Ooh,
It's, yeah,
that's good. Yeah,
yeah,
losing the idea. So if that's a really important one, then that in order to date authentically, we have to stop fantasizing and jumping into the future. We have to
yes,
stay in the present.
100%. Yes, you have to also, yeah, you have to catch yourself when you're projecting, and which could be negative or positive. Like when you learn something about someone, and you're like, oh, well, that doesn't align with me. What if this becomes a problem in 3 years? You're on your third date,
You got,
you know? And then the other way is, oh, he said he loves this, and maybe one day we can travel together, do all these things. And it's like, you're on the third date. Don't be walking down the
stay
aisle.
in your
Yeah,
lane. Stay with where you're at.
yeah,
Don't jump ahead. Yeah, I always say the future is always a fatal mistake, right? Future fatal. Like if you're going into the future, you could go into the what if and the worst case scenarios. What if I can never ever be with anyone ever? What if I'm going to be alone? I'm going to be a cat lady. I always thought I was going to be a cat lady, and I die alone in my apartment with all these cats, and no one would know until the stench got so big that someone that would smell something. Like I literally went there in those dark moments
worst case
sometimes.
scenario.
Yeah, worst case scenario. So don't do that, and don't do the other way, which is the fantasizing into the positive of imagining the wedding and imagining whatever it is. Like, no, like that just takes you out of reality, so you can't bond. It's so seductive to do that, though. It really is. We have such a
Well,
drive.
I think it's the anxiety piece. The anxiety loves to live in the future and loves to control and know the answers and not be uncomfortable with the unknown. So
Yeah.
but being present means that yes, you have to accept the unknown because you are literally creating it and building it. You know, it's hard. It's really hard. I think the anxiety causes us to project and live in the future and worry about the future.
Yeah, exactly. So that we have to really deal with that anxiety.
Yeah.
And again, the best way to deal with anxiety is to just, I call it go into observer mode. So
Love that.
observer, we have an observer ability to just witness and watch from our higher self, if you want to call it that. And when we go into observer mode, again, you're stepping out of judgment and reactivity mode, and you're stepping into observer mode. And that observer mode can be your best friend. It literally can shift you out of anything to just witness and notice what's going on. And if you can just do that for just like a minute, it will already start to change on its own just by not trying to change it. Again, it's that response and that reaction by just being with whatever is. One of my favorite mantras I use all the time is like, it just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just is what it is. It's okay.
Yeah,
Right.
it's okay.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
it's okay. It is what it is. And like, if you can just drop into being with yourself in the moment with whatever you're feeling without having to judge it, change it, fix it, reject it, suppress it, escape it, then it will automatically, organically shift. But you don't have to make it shift. It will just do that. So a lot of people ask me, how do we do this? It's like, I went into this work because there's a lot of talk about what to do, but not how to do it. So I help people tune into the how to. How do I feel different?
It's
How do I
hard.
tune into my body?
It's hard though because the how is like part of the learning and that takes time. You can't just answer that in a DM or a quick reel
Right.
or it's like it's a journey. It's a process.
The process. Yes. Yeah. That's what I created. I mean, then you have to coach with Talia or with someone. You have to coach with someone to go through a process of transformation. My course I do is a journey of a transformation. It's not the information. It's not it's not even the time with an expert. It's because, again, good advice is everywhere. You can get a lot of good advice. I give free advice in my DMs all the time.
Yeah.
Contact me. So but it is about the process of transformation with someone who has done that particular transformation before, I think, and it can help you. And then that is really worth, you are worth investing in for yourself, whoever you do it with, right?
Yes.
That's part of, I see the biggest battle is people even feel guilty investing in themselves.
Really?
Like taking time out, energy,
Yes.
whether it's money, whatever it is, but like, I'm worth investing in myself. That's also the reflection. Or I'm terrible at decision making, so now I can't even make the decision whether I should work on myself with so it's how we do one thing is how we do everything. So however you show up in life at work is how you're going to show up at dating. It's how you're going to show up with your family, is how you're going to show up. So we have to, the good news about that is when you get to the root of whatever is blocking you and stopping you, it can change in every area at once, right? When we work at the root level. So I love that. Okay. So let's do, lastly, we're already half an hour.
I know.
What do we're kind of weaving within
Yeah.
all of these anyway, like what to do about it. I meaning like what gets in the way of dating authentically and what to do about it. So we've been talking a lot about the fears, and I think the fears are the biggest thing. I think really the fears are the biggest thing, and coming from the subconscious, being able to tap into that, being able to, again, we have parts of ourselves that are really scared of rejection, of hurt, of commitment, you know, of whatever it is, abandonment. And when we allow ourselves to go into higher self-observer mode and talk to those little parts of us that feel scared, when we have that dialogue, they will shift and they will heal.
Right.
And they will, well, at least no longer hijack you in your dating. They won't hijack.
Yes, right. It's like it's like you can rein it in a little bit. Yeah, you feel like it's within your reach. You can reach these parts of yourself and you can be there for them. I mean, I've worked with my therapist on this for a long time. And I love that the visualization, the mental visualization of talking to my inner child. They're just like, you know, putting my arm around her and being like, it's okay, you're safe, you know, anything to give the reassurance. And a lot of your approach is very like based in emotions. I would say my approaches are more practical, like on the just that how to, and I think that's why my content resonates with a lot of people. So when it comes to addressing the fears, one approach I took to dating more authentically and addressing fears is just building a life single that I really liked. And knowing that if I ended up alone, I could be really happy. Like knowing that if I like, also like when I got out of a relationship, I was in a relationship for 6 years and we were talking about getting married, and I left him. I was 29 and I'm like, wow, I really have to orient my life around maybe being single forever, maybe the potential, like financially and just geographically, you know, just and I had to play with, okay, if I never met anyone, where would I want to live? What kind of career would I have to support myself and a potential family if I wanted to be a single mom? What would I have? And I just, and having that plan, like a backup plan, helped me in my dating a lot because I knew I had it. I'm like, okay, if I don't meet anyone, I dated for 10 months. If I dated for 10 years, it's like, I still have this trajectory that I'm on.
Wow. So you really built yourself.
Yeah. And I'm happy. I was happy single. I'm happy in my relationship. And I think, you know, a relationship is meant to enhance your life. It's not supposed to be your source of happiness. Like you need to be, you're still responsible for your own happiness, even with a partner. So yes.
And that is such an important point, Talia, because people often see getting into a relationship or marriage as the goal. And once I get that, then I'm going to be happy. And again, I think that's coming from a place of lack rather than fullness. And you really sounds like you worked from getting to a place of fullness. And a lot of us, because we feel either not worthy or not lovable or not good enough or all those things, or anxious, we want someone else to complete us. We want someone else to make us feel better. And that really backfires.
Because when you're dating from a place of lack or desperation or just scarcity, you are going to make choices that are not aligned with what you really need because you're just grasping for the first connection that shows up that could be viable.
Right. Which is either anxious attachment, if you want to put labels on it, or any of that kind of stuff.
Or just scarcity.
Or it leads to enmeshment and codependency. Right, where I need someone, I merge with someone, so we're two halves becoming one rather than two wholes becoming a greater unit. And I think that's really, really important. So it's really, I do work. It's interesting how you'll work from the practical point of view, and I'll work from the subconscious.
I'm very pragmatic. I'm very like logical and pragmatic. And I think that's why people resonate with the stuff. I mean, I don't get me wrong. The emotional stuff is extremely important, but it's not. It doesn't come as naturally to me in terms of like communicating it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I had to work it through myself. I think because I worked that part through. I love teaching other people how to do it for themselves. And when, you know, people will say like, I know what my issues are. I know where they came from. I know how they play out in a relationship. There's a lot of self-aware people out there, and I just can't change how I feel. So even if I do know the practical, the logical, the whatever, I still feel this way. I can make wise choices around it, better choices, but I can't change the feeling of it. So I think that it can be empowering and liberating to know that there is a way without having to always run to a therapist or a coach, because to learn a simplified way of like this inner child technique, so to speak. Like I'll give an example. So next time you're going on a date, whoever, I want you to close your eyes for just like a few minutes. Find in your body what you're feeling. Like, are you feeling a constriction? Again, feelings happen in the body, thoughts happen in the head. So feelings are a constriction, a knot in my stomach, a pit, a heaviness. I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm feeling jittery. These are sensations in the body that go together to create a feeling. And what I want you to do is tune in to where you're feeling that. I want you to assume it's like a childlike thing, like Talia was saying, the inner child. Put your hand on it, wherever it is, chest, stomach, wherever. Usually it's chest or stomach. And I want you to talk to it from your observer. So I want you to observe it. I want you to notice it. And then I want you to talk to it as if it's a child who's scared. So you just say, I love you. It's okay. You're with me. You don't need to even come on the date. I love it when you let your inner child off the hook, and she doesn't even your inner child doesn't need to come on a date. So you can say,
I never thought of that. I love that.
You go off and play. You don't even need to be on a date. You can hang behind me. You can play on the floor. You can go listen to music, whatever you want. And all of a sudden, every time I do this all the time, even with public speaking or something like that, all of a sudden I feel like this, like there's a shift inside. How you relate to yourself, as we said at the beginning of the life, how you relate to yourself changes everything. It's not about getting rid of certain parts, but I don't want to let that little part that's coming from my subconscious that I'm not really aware of, but I'm aware it's like this pit in my stomach, hijack my dating experience. I don't want that to happen. So how do I make that not happen? I have to turn towards it. I have to bring it into consciousness. I have to bring it into the light, and I have to relate to it differently from my observer. And if we can just say, you're okay, it's okay. You don't even have to come on the date. You can step aside. You know, I'm never leaving you, because really at the bottom of all of our fears, I really think it's either an abandonment or a rejection or a pain, honestly. Yes, 100%. And if we get to the root, which we can easily, if you do this kind of approach, it will change all of that. So you don't have to keep battling yourself every minute, even though you can override those things, of course, and you can make different choices intellectually. You won't have to battle that aspect. It won't be sort of vying for competition to take ownership over your life. And it will feel soothed. It will feel at ease. My best, I love it when my clients finish my course and they'll call me up and go, oh my gosh, I had the worst date ever and I didn't even care. Like
yes,
they love it. I got rejected and I'm fine. That's what we want. Would have wiped me out 6 months ago.
Absolutely. And on what you were saying about like doing this work and like kind of taking your inner child out of the picture, I mean, I think what I've found is the more I relate with my inner child, the more I like interact with her, the stronger I feel in myself. Because the strongest and longest relationship you have is with yourself. So it's like the more I built that security, the less I felt I needed to grasp externally for that validation, for that acceptance. It's like, I know I accept myself. I've got this. I can validate myself. I can meet a lot of my own emotional needs. And I think once we learn how to do that, it's easier to find a partner who is truly compatible with us, because we're not just picking someone who validates us, or like we're not like that dynamic where you're just trying to get the validation and then just keep withdrawing, and it's like a cycle,
right?
You know, so
Hollywood health has it.
There's so many benefits to that kind of connection and
Beautiful
work.
Yeah, you've done deep work. I love it. I really respect that. I really admire that. And
Thank you.
Maybe we'll leave it here. What's one piece of advice as we leave that you would give people to be able to date more authentically?
I want to make it good. I guess I want to inspire and encourage other people to be the chooser, show up as yourself, and keep the focus on if you like them. Walk into the date assuming they're going to love you. Just assume that. It's just a default. Of course they're going to love you because you love you, right? Who wouldn't? That's that confidence and assumption I want you to have to go into the date.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that idea of, are you the kind of person that the partner of your dreams would want to marry or be with, you know, and then where do you need to shift for that? But I also encourage people to practice. So go out and practice with being authentic with everyone else as well, not just on dates. And then you can get to really see when it's maybe a little less scary. It's like, go and ask for support, go and ask for some help, go and express some fears, or whatever it is you don't do, try and lean into that a little bit and push past it and try and
like little baby steps.
Baby steps, always for baby steps. Talia, it's been such an honor and a
Yes.
pleasure. I've loved this conversation. I think
Me
a lot of
too.
people.
I wanna have you on my podcast.
Oh, I would love it.
Yeah, this would be so great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I loved it. Love you're a really special person, and I hope that your engagement is smooth and easy and fun and beautiful. And thank you for all the wisdom you put into the world and the help that you
You
help
too.
people with.
Right
All
back
right,
at you.
we'll speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.